Oh, and there's Chair Russell. She's on. Very good. Let's see, Commissioner Carter.
Here.
Commissioner Doyle, he said he would be absent today. Commissioner Farron.
Here.
Okay. Our new commissioner, Commissioner Astalos.
Here.
Hi, I'm sorry. This is Commissioner Barrios. I'm here as well. I apologize.
Very good. All right. And Commissioner Micah, he told me he would not be available today. Commissioner Tellez, I think I just heard her.
Yes, here.
Very good. Yes, ma'am, we have a quorum.
All right, and Karen, I heard you say that Chair Russell might be on the line for it. So Chair, just letting you know, we're going to run the meeting from here, if that's all right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So taking that into it, we would like to welcome our new commissioner, Commissioner Estalis. Welcome, Commissioner Estalis. Would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself to the group?
Okay, sure. I'm happy to serve, and my name is Bob Estalis. I'm the director of the Agency for Persons with Disabilities. Governor appointed me 6 weeks ago, and prior to that, I was with the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs. I was the deputy executive director, and before that, I spent years lobbying on behalf of long-term care, assisted living, nursing homes in Washington and in Tallahassee.
We are happy to have you.
Well, thank you.
So thank you, and welcome to the commission.
Well, thank you.
Yes. Right. So this meeting is being held both in person and via webinar. We ask all participants to keep their microphones or phones muted unless speaking. We will now move into the Pledge of Allegiance. If you are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as a reminder, this is a public meeting conducted under Florida's Government in the Sunshine Act. The meeting is being recorded, and all verbal, written, and text, including chat box communications, will be included in the official meeting record. For those participating via webinar or phone, please make sure that your lines are muted. If you're experiencing technical issues, you can use the chat box, and someone from our team will assist you. Commissioners, avoid using chat box to communicate privately with other board members to ensure compliance to sunshine requirements. We will now move into the public comment and open the floor for public comment related specifically to today's agenda items. Comments should be limited to those agenda items, and we ask that all remarks be concise and respectful. Individuals who submitted a public comment form in advance will be called first. If you're on the webinar and did not submit a form but wish to speak, please indicate that in the chat box. You'll be called after those who submitted forms. All speakers, please state your name, the organization you're representing, and comments are limited to 5 minutes. Karen, do we have any public comment cards for today's agenda items?
No, ma'am, we do not have any for any of the agenda items this morning.
Thank you. Do we have anything in the chat box? Anyone who did not?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. We'll now move into the approval of minutes from the June 26, 2025 business meeting. Commissioners, you received the minutes in advance. Are there any corrections or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Excellent. I think we have a motion from Chair Russell and second from Commissioner Stalos. Seeing no objections, those minutes are approved. Moving on to our next item, it's the related to proposed rule amendments in the annual regulatory plan. I'll now turn it over to Rachel Munson, the Commissioner General Counsel, to walk us through both items.
Good morning, Commission. Good morning, Commission, and thank you, Ms. Smith. I would just like to briefly go over the annual regulatory plan for 2025-2026, and in conjunction with that, discuss a rule amendment that appears to be necessary as a result of a legislative change in the last session. So I'm going to follow the screen as you see noticed on your PowerPoint display and just identify the purpose of the annual regulatory plan for those who may not know. All agencies are required every year to submit anticipated rulemaking to our executive branch through the annual regulatory plan. The information in this materials is an effort to do just that. The submission of the materials is required no later than October 1 of each year, so we are hopeful to discuss and finalize with approval the information at this meeting. Chapter 120.74, as you noted in that previous screen, gives or provides the information regarding the requirements and mandates of the annual regulatory plan. If we move on to the next slide, you'll see an actual copy of the annual regulatory plan. It's a draft copy at this moment. At the close of this meeting, hopefully it will be a final copy. You see pages 1 and 2 on this one screen, and I'll just go through each of the sections, if you will. Section 1 is a requirement that we include any necessary rulemaking as a result of a law change. Often it's left blank, but for this particular year, the commission did receive a legislative change in Chapter 427.01595, which I think the information is also included in your materials packet. And that information specifically indicates that in addition to the current language in the rule that refers to, I'm going to read it directly, the current language in the rule that refers to community transportation coordinators, that there also be given consideration to alternative providers. So I believe you have the specific language in front of you, which indicates the commission may expend funds to contract with alternative providers with dedicated vehicles and trained personnel specializing in paratransit services to support transportation services for persons with disabilities. Such entities shall provide specialized transportation services tailored to the specific needs of riders that comply with the service standards as established by the Commission to ensure safe and accessible mobility options. So as a result of that language in 427.0159 sub 5, a review of that particular language, a review of that language with staff and myself resulted in a resolution that there appears to be a necessary rule change, and I've cited the rule in this annual regulatory plan of Section 1. I think if you go back, it's 41-2.014. I see we're highlighting on the screen now the actual statutory language in sub 5, which I've just read. But Section 1 of the annual regulatory plan specifically asked whether a law was enacted or amended within the previous 12 months, which creates or modifies the duties of the authority of the commission. It's been deemed necessary, we believe, that Section 427.0159 sub 5 would require a rule change to 41-2.014 to include the language of alternative providers. Mandatory rulemaking, yes. Is rulemaking necessary? Yes. Notice of rule development is not yet published because we need to approve that at this meeting, the language that is before you with the materials. And we anticipate the publication of this notice on or about October 10th. It just gives us a few days after this meeting, if this body so approves, to move forward. So that is what Section 1 references, and I'll go into the language of 41.2.014 after I complete the annual regulatory plan information. Section 2 identifies, requests that we identify does the agency expect to implement rulemaking by July 1, other than the laws listed in Section 1. So normally with an annual regulatory plan, it is not dispositive. It is anticipated rulemaking that's requested. At this particular juncture, it is not clear what specific rulemaking may come before the commission this year. So it was determined as it has been in previous years, to just indicate that currently under this particular review, there is none. Please understand that because it's not dispositive, if this body chooses to undergo rulemaking, you have absolute authority to do so, even if a rule is not listed on this plan. If a rule perhaps was listed on this plan and you chose later not to pursue rulemaking, you have absolute authority to discontinue any rulemaking efforts. Again, not dispositive, just anticipated. Section 3 just indicates that there were no changes to the previous regulatory plan. And Section 4 is a section that certifies that this information has been reviewed with this body, and it will be signed off by electronic signatures by the chair who is present, by myself who is present, and as approved, if approved today, it will bear the date of September 25th, today's date, as the date of approval. There is, if we go to the next screen, an additional section that's been added, Section 5. Now, this section is new. We've not done this before, and this section is a result of a mandate in 120.74, sub 1E of the Florida statutes, where we have been asked by the legislator, and not just us, every agency has been asked to take a look at every rule that falls under their authority. Those would be departmental rules, board rules, commission rules. In this commission, we currently have 13 rules that we are responsible for, that are considered commission rules. And we have been asked to identify by October 1 each of the rules, and by what year in a 5-year period do we intend to look at those rules comprehensively. There are specific questions we need to ask about our review process regarding each rule, and that information will be due probably by January 1, but by October 1, it has been required that we at least list the rules and identify the scheduled year of review. With discussion with staff, as a result of discussion with staff and with Madam Chair, it has been indicated that we probably can get through our 13 rules, not held over until year 2030, which would be the 5-year mark. But by year 2028, we should be able to have reviewed all of the rules. This page identifies, pursuant to the statutory mandate, when we will identify and comprehensively review those rules, in what year. So you will see the 5 rules that are listed for scheduled review by year 2026. You'll see an additional 4 rules that will be reviewed comprehensively by year 2027, and the remaining 4 rules will be done in 2028. And I just like to do a sidebar comment here. 13 rules doesn't seem like a whole lot. Some may feel that, gee, it's just 13 rules. We can just do them all at once. Well, the special nature of this commission is that although the rules are not many, they are mighty. So once you look very closely at the rules, you'll see that the language, the text of them are very comprehensive. And when we undergo rulemaking in most of them, the majority of them, quite honestly, it will be a labor-intensive effort. So where we have taken up the lion's share of them in year 2026, or plan to do so, they were probably the rules that may be the least technical, although some technical rules are very much involved in them. And as the years follow, and we're probably going to be looking at all of them throughout the period to start tweaking them or identifying if there's a need for rulemaking. But we at least needed to meet the first tier of compliance and provide by October 1, a list of all of our rules, a scheduled review year, to have all of them completely and comprehensively reviewed by 2030. We've done so with this by identifying all of the rules with an indication that they will be complete and comprehensively reviewed by year 2028. So that is a new addition. All agencies are doing it, and we thought it would be most helpful to just this as a new section to the annual regulatory plan. We are not the only agency adding it to the regulatory plan. Some of you may know that I am involved with serving as legal counsel or legal advisor to various boards, about 7 or so, and they've all decided to do it this way as well. So we are not in an island by ourselves by doing it, but I knew how important the compliance nature of this was. And since the annual regulatory plan was due by October 1, needs to be posted on the website by October 1, the notice of it needs to be published by October 1. With this also being an October 1 deadline, to include this in it as other agencies are doing just seemed to make sense. So this is the review of the presentation of the annual regulatory plan. And I would just ask that the body, if you have any questions regarding the need for it, the information involved in it, or anything related to the annual regulatory plan, I open the floor up to questions at this time. If there are no questions, I will need a vote from the body to approve the plan, if that is your pleasure. And I would need an individual vote from everybody because everyone would be required to vote unless there's a basis for recusal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Munson, for that explanation and review of both of those. Commissioners, are there any questions for Ms. Munson on either
I'm
the
sorry, this is
regulatory
Commissioner Barrios.
plan or proposed rule amendment?
I
Commissioner
apologize.
Barrios?
Yeah, I apologize. I just wanted to clarify. So you said if we approve this plan, this doesn't prevent us from rulemaking, additional rulemaking. Is that correct?
It absolutely does not prevent you from additional rulemaking.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, are there any other questions for Ms. Munson on either the regulatory plan or the proposed rule amendment? Ms. Munson, I believe I heard you say that you would need to take a roll call vote for both of these items. Is that correct?
I would, except I've not gone over the rule amendment. I was just narrowing this to the annual regulatory plan because I wanted the record to be clear as to what we were voting on, if that's okay with the body.
Yes, we can start with the annual regulatory plan and then allow you to explain further for the proposed rule amendment. Would that work?
That'd be perfect. Thank you.
Excellent. Seeing no other questions for Ms. Munson on the annual regulatory plan, is there a motion to approve the annual regulatory plan?
This is
Commissioner Carter. I see Carter, Commissioner Carter, and also Chair Russell with those. With that, will someone please take a roll call vote for the 2025-26 annual regulatory plan?
Very good. Okay, Chair Russell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrios,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Farron,
Yes.
Commissioner Teles,
Aye.
Commissioner Teles.
Yes.
Very good, Chair.
I'd like to thank the commission very much for that vote. This document, the annual regulatory plan, will be effective today, dated today, considered final. I will forward the final document to the leadership, Ms. Somerset and her staff, so that she can post it on the website, so that she can notice the publication of it in the Florida Administrative Register. And I will forward, as also required by our duties, a copy of this to the senior attorney involved in this particular, assigned to this commission, Jamie Jackson, a copy of this annual regulatory plan. I'd like to thank you for that. It's a huge deal, and I'm glad that we were able to dispense of it timely. It's super important. So thank you. With regard to the proposed rulemaking, as a result of that legislative change, I think we have a general explanation provided on this PowerPoint screen as to what Rule 41-2.014 actually involves, pertains to the grants program itself. So with the next screen, I wanted to highlight section, and this is the relevant portion of section 2C of the rule. Section 2C is lengthier than that. I don't want to give the impression that this is the entire section. It's definitely not the entire rule, but this is the relevant section of 41-2.014 sub 2 sub C. And you will see that the changes that are made are underlined, the additions are underlined, and where you see that there is a scratch out, that's because that's the language that's intended to be removed. I'd like to read this for the record. Innovative Service Development Related is the name of this section. That's how it's titled. Innovative Service Development Grant Funds shall be used to provide competitive grants to community transportation coordinators is how it currently reads. We are adding the language and alternative providers as defined in section 427.0159 sub 5 for innovative service delivery that is cost efficient for the program and time efficient for the users. Grants may be for projects. We could see the areas that are being deleted that provides door-to-door, on-demand, or scheduled transportation services. A community transportation coordinator as added or alternative provider shall not receive more than one award for a designated service area as defined in 41-2.002 sub 4 of the Florida Administrative Code. I'd like to note at this time that this language of alternative providers, as we look more deeply into some of the other rules, may also result in rule changes to them, to those rules that have not yet been identified. But it was clear by the staff's review, and also I am in agreement with them that this rule at least most clearly identifies the need for the additional language, or the inclusion of the additional language. So that is the proposed rule change. It is a result of a legislative change, and I believe it does constitute required rulemaking. And it is for that reason that I present it to this body for your approval of that language, at the close of which, if the approval is received, I will ask a couple rulemaking questions as well. The questions also included in this material. If you have any questions about the rule language or anything having to do with the proposed rulemaking intended, please feel free to ask at this time. I'll do my best with Ms. Summers that here to assist if necessary.
All right, thank you, Ms. Munson, for reviewing the proposed rule amendment for us as well too. Commissioners, are there any questions for Ms. Munson regarding the proposed rule amendment? All right, seeing no questions for the proposed rule amendment, is there a motion to approve the proposed rule amendment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Aaron will second.
All right, we received 2 seconds on that one too. Thank you, Commissioner Farron and Commissioner Astalos. Ms. Munson, does this one also require a roll call vote?
It does. I appreciate your indulgence. Thank you.
Absolutely. Ms. Somerset, will you please take a roll call vote?
Yes, ma'am. Chair Russell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrios,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Farron,
Yes.
Commissioner Astalos,
Aye.
and Commissioner Tellez.
Yes.
Very good.
Again, Commissioner, I thank you for that. I think we are compliant, and I've indicated to this body before, to the chair most recently, ethics compliance and any legal compliance is my number one goal. So I appreciate your acceptance and approval of the information set before you. I do need to ask a couple questions before we can officially begin. And they are, I had them set on the screen because there are a lot of words, right? And I think sometimes individuals, as well as needing to hear them, might be helpful to also see what I'm saying. So with that, the first question for any rulemaking, which is required, will the proposed rule amendments have an adverse impact on small business, or will the proposed rule amendments be likely to directly or indirectly increase regulatory costs to any entity, including government, in excess of $200,000 in the aggregate in Florida within 1 year after the implementation of the rule? I believe staff has reviewed some of this and indicated that there does not appear to be a situation where this rule amendment would actually directly or indirectly increase regulatory costs of the nature as expressed in this question, but it would require a negative response from this body to move forward with the rulemaking as is. And if you have any questions about any of this, I'm available, and Ms. Somerset is available as well.
Thank you, Ms. Munson, for that explanation for question number 1. And if I'm accurate on this, you need a response from the body of in the positive or negative of if it does or does not. And it sounds like based upon your review and staff's review of this one, the proposed rule does not appear to have inverse impact on small businesses or directly or indirectly increase regulatory costs in excess of 200,000. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there a motion from a commissioner to approve that the answer to number one is a no?
Correct.
Sam Farrell motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Farron. Is there a second that the answer to question number one is a no? Commissioner Carter will second. Thank you, Commissioner Carter. Are there any objections to the motion on the table? All right, seeing no objections, the motion carries that the answer to question number one by this body is a no.
Very well. Thank you for that as well. This final question, should a violation of this rule or any part of this rule be designated a minor violation? By just definition, I don't think that actually applies. We are required to ask the question. It is of my opinion that the answer to that would also be no.
All right, thank you for that explanation, Ms. Munson. As explained by Ms. Munson, the answer to question number two, which must be requested of this body, that should a violation of this rule or any part of this rule be designated a minor violation, the suggestion from staff is that this is a no answer as well too. Do I have a motion from a commissioner that the body would answer as a no for question number two?
So moved.
Thank you, Chair Russell. Do I have a second?
Sam Farrell second.
Thank you, Commissioner Aspelos, for coming in on the win, just on the wire. Thank you, Commissioner Farron as well too. Are there any objections to the motion on the table? Seeing no objections, the motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Munson.
Very well. Our Office of the Attorney General will actually proceed with rulemaking on this. During the next meeting, you will see an update to the rulemaking process as to where this is in its channel of rulemaking. It usually takes about 90 days unless we have questions or comments or need to answer to something, or if there's a need for a change to the proposed rulemaking. But by the next meeting, you will see an updated I believe it's the rules report, and hopefully we'll see that it's just moving smoothly along the way. And I thank you guys for your indulgence as well as your diligence in this review. This actually concludes my comments. Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Ms. Munson, and thank you for your help and efforts on both of these agenda items. We truly appreciate it. Next, we'll move into agenda item fiscal year 2025-26 Innovative Service Development Grant Recommendations. This is for round two of our Innovative Service Development Grant Recommendations. As you recall, there were some remaining funds from round one, and we as a body had moved to see what we could do about accepting more applications to make sure that those funds were put to their good use. So I will let Ms. Somerset please provide an overview of the projects and proposed funding options based upon that second round.
Too many things going on my screen. All right, as the presentation shows, we had 8 applications coming in. We had quite a few applications. They totaled more than the monies that we had available. You keep moving the slide, Sherry.
I'm so sorry. I was trying to find the summary thing. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. All right. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we had 2.3 application. We had 8 applications total. We reviewed all of them. The purpose of the Innovative Service Development Grant, like we said, was to increase riders' access to employment, medical license sustaining, or access cross-county regional mobility, or reduce barriers to riders to access fixed route services. as I think a little bit about what Rochelle just mentioned, funding is capped at $750 per project with a single service area, or $1.5 million for multiple contiguous service areas. Our next slide, Sherry. Last year, or during this last legislative session, they increased our funding to $6 million. We had already issued the grant applications out, and had awarded the $4.3 million to current projects during our last commission meeting. And so that left a little over $1.8 million to put back out again for a second round. Okay. We did that in August. We advertised it in the Florida Register, Florida Administrative Register. We posted it on our website, and we emailed the applications out to everybody, our CTCs and planning agencies, and anybody that had contacted us. We received 8 applications totaling $2.3 million, and we evaluated all of those applications using a scoring rubric. I believe so based on the rubric, we came up with 3 funding options. It was very difficult to be able to give enough money to all of them, so we had to come up with some options for you all to consider. The first option was based on the top 6 highest scored projects. The second option is to fund 7 of the projects based on a percentage of funds requested based on their scoring. And the third one is a percentage of funds to all the applicants. And the scoring rubric, here are the highlight elements that we used to score those applications, and the point score for each. So as you can see, the majority of the points were awarded based on the project innovation and the proposed outcomes of those projects. That's good. Just a summary of the applicants that we had received. Big Bend Transit was proposing to do cross-county and regional same-day trips and pre-scheduled trips for Gulf and Franklin counties. Big Bend Transit was also proposing to do an on-demand same-day service, first mile, last mile, there in Jefferson County. iEnable, who is a non-traditional provider, is also proposing to do a cross-county same-day and pre-scheduled services in Jefferson and in Leon County. Votran has proposed to do an on-demand same-day within defined zones for Volusia. Liberty County is doing next day and cross-county services there in Liberty County, as well as into the neighboring counties. St. Lucie County has proposed to do a dialysis transportation program, reducing their wait and their travel times for dialysis clients there in St. Lucie. And Circuit Transit, who's also a non-traditional transportation provider, submitted a proposal on demand using electric shuttle services and microtransit in the city of Miramar down in Broward County. And New Thrive Florida is proposing to do cross-county and regional services in Hernando, going into Citrus, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties. So here are our proposed funding options, commissioners. As you can see, option 1, we're proposing to consider awarding the top 6. Option 2, we are proposing to award based on the score breakdown. A percentage of the funding is requested. And option 3, as you can see, is a percentage of breakdown based on scoring for all 8 applicants.
Hey, Russell, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, before we start discussing the funding, I'd actually like to discuss the projects. Can we go back to that page, please?
Sure.
So can you show me the matrix on points scored within each of those categories on these? Do we have a slide for that?
Okay. There you go. Is that what you're looking for?
No, I'm actually looking for the scores of each of those projects.
Right.
This slide shows the scores for how the scores would be broken down. And then I believe if we can go to where you were on those projects, it shows the total
There.
score on the far right-hand side.
Yeah, the total, but do we have a breakdown of how they scored within each of those categories? Like the next level of this slide? Like I see the total, but I'd like to understand who got more in the different categories.
We don't have a slide prepared for that. Is what I'm hearing from staff.
Correct.
However, there's certain ones that you would like to go into.
Unfortunately, I'm kind of interested in seeing how they compare across each other versus individuals. But learning more about specifically, I would like to understand what the innovative part is with each of these and how it differs from services already available, either in the area or within the state.
Chair, I
So
can say that. Oh, go ahead,
go
Sherry.
ahead. I was going to, my thought was in the rubric that we use for scoring the innovation, it's basically if they're providing something new or unique to that particular service area. So if they don't go cross county or out of county, they don't do any type of service like that, that would be considered innovative to them based on the past history of how we've defined innovation for this particular program.
Is that ever, or is that just currently don't offer that?
Currently.
Currently. Okay.
So for instance, Hernando County does not travel outside of their county. They don't provide service outside of their county. So, so they were wanting to try to go to Hernando, Citrus, and Pasco, Hillsborough for certain situations, whether it's medical or they didn't put it to a specific purpose per se, but primarily probably medical. That was what their project was. So they pretty much stayed within Hernando County. Does that help you?
So
No,
it's just basically for an
I'm following.
expansion of what they do today.
Yes.
Okay.
And what they have historically done. So for Gulf, Franklin and Jefferson, like the Big Bend Transit ones that we have on the top two, they're more testing the on-demand same-day component. They provide out-of-county transportation, but they don't have, it's usually pre-scheduled several days in advance, and then they provide that service. What they're wanting to test is to be able to provide it more of a next day or on-demand, same-day type service. I don't know if that helped you out. And that service is not available. That level of service is not currently available and hasn't been.
So that does help. However, we have a limited number of funds left, and I want to make sure that we're utilizing them in the most innovative, because this is for innovation.
Right.
And so, I'd like to prioritize versions of that. I'd also like to make sure that they do have a plan I know that was only 10 points, or I'm assuming it was 10 points, our new requirement that they uh, have a plan to titrate off of the funding. But how do we see that as the commissioners within your scoring matrix?
I think going back to it, Commissioner Russell, if I may, for the scoring matrix and the rubric that comes into it, the majority of the points are gained through the project innovation. It's a quarter of the points are through of how it was evaluated on project innovation, and then 35 points. So another quarter plus of the points. So more than half of the points are garnered through the innovation and the proposed outcomes. Is that correct? Those are the two
Yes.
major categories that the funding, the rubrics commits to. Okay.
You're done.
Yes, but I'm not suggesting that this is what happened. I just can't see it. But in theory, you could have everything else at the top tier and have no innovation and still be higher than somebody else potentially. Does that make sense? I just want to understand where they fall within those categories against each other.
Right, I totally understand what you're requesting. It's just, I know that in the process of yesterday, I was actually building that because when we provide feedback to those that may not get funded, or even if they get funding, where can they strengthen their proposal? That was kind of the thought process I was going through, where we're telling them specifically where you placed in each section and how that worked. But I don't have it prepared for today by section.
Ms. Somerset, do you have any additional comments that you'd like to provide?
No, ma'am, we can certainly provide that breakdown and the additional scores. And I think as we prepare for the next round of grant application process, we want to bring the manual, the scoring rubric, all the criteria and share it with the commission for you all to provide us some input on what you'd like to see as we improve that process like I said, for the next go around. And that may help answer some of your.
To table this until the next meeting. Like we're under no deadlines with this, right? This is current year funding, so it doesn't expire until
It
June.
expires in June. It's whether or not they have, which I guess some of them are turnkey, but yeah, it's 6 months. If we meet in December and get the proposals or the grants out and they get before their boards, so we're limiting their time to implement, but it's definitely something that she can do.
And we're not limited to a December meeting of being when the next one is, correct? The chair has the ability to call a meeting in the in-between?
Correct.
Okay, to be able to have adequate review time for the questions that you're bringing up, Chair Russell, and then a potential to call a meeting in order to bring this item back to the body?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner
Yeah, I
Farron,
just want to, we're, or do we, I mean, I don't know if I didn't even get a second, so that may not be
That's
the
what I
role
was
of
coming
the
on
group.
for, Chair. Like,
Oh.
I'm with you. I second your proposed motion to table it. I think I would like to understand the rubric and the scoring, and the categories. To your exact point, those are my questions on, what is the innovative piece of each of these projects.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, just to make sure we're clear for what's happening on the record here, it appears as though there's a motion on the table by Chair Russell to table this agenda item in order for staff to bring back to this body the scoring rubrics and systems so that we can evaluate those further coming into it before we take a vote. And there was a second. Is that your correct motion, Chair Russell?
Commissioner, if we could, I could also add to that I would like a one pager or a brief on each of the individual projects provided to all the commissioners so they can review each individual project. We do not have unlimited funds here, and we don't have enough to cover everybody's requests. So I just want to make sure we are prudent in how we are awarding these and making sure that it really does meet, the interest of the innovation grant.
Yes, we'll add that to the motion then. So the motion on the table too, and if I could add one more piece to it so that the information could come back to the commissioners as from staff so that we could have a thorough understanding of each project that's coming to it, and that then the chair would call a meeting at a time afterwards to bring this item back to the table, not necessarily the December meeting.
I have a question. Sorry. This is the same rubric that was used for the previously awarded grants?
Yes, basically the components, we just defined it even more and it was provided to the applicants so they could see how, what the scores were.
We had to add we had to make a few modifications, Commissioner Carter, because we did add the non-traditional transportation providers in the application process. So they had a little bit, we had to change that up. Instead of saying partnering with alternative providers, we opened that up.
Thank you.
Chair Russell, would you like to state your motion now that we've added on a few more things to it to make it more clear?
So I move that we table this item for today and direct staff to bring back to the commission both a more detailed scoring matrix as well as individual outlined project descriptions in one-pager form for the commissioners to consider.
Sam Farrell, second.
There's a motion and a second motion for this item that came into it. Are there any objections to the motion? Any clarifications that need or questions to the motion? Anything in the chat? Seeing no clarifying questions needed and no objections to the motion, we'll have the motion carry. Right, next, we will move into the adverse incident report summary, where local governments and their transportation service providers are required to submit quarterly adverse incidents reports to the commission. These reports that are included in our agenda and meeting materials are for the quarter of April 1st through June 30, 2025. They were due to the commission by July 31st of this year. Ms. Somerset, will you please provide a summary of the report submitted during this reporting period?
There we go. I'm sorry. Had to get myself unmuted. As you can see, 40 agencies did report. 18 did not. You'll see in the paperwork that's in your meeting package, the counties that have a star beside them are the ones that are required to provide a report. The ones that do not have a star are not required, but many of them continue to submit their adverse incident reports. We had 29 reports that had no incidences to report. 29 of them had vehicle-related incidences, 37 were safety-related, and 2 complaints. You'll notice also that Broward County's number of reports were reduced significantly this time because they had a better understanding of their definition of an adverse incident. I think, unless there are any questions about any of that.
I have a question.
Yes.
So the within the vehicle related, how many are driver errors specifically?
So the vehicle errors, vehicle related issues are more related to maybe accidents, not so much that the vehicle with the passengers involved, but more was at fault, but more of incidences where other vehicles have crashed into the transport vehicle. It could be, as critical as hitting the vehicle and doing a rollover like they did in the Orange Osceola Seminole in the Lynx area. It could be as minor as bumping into the fender, someone coming in underneath the awning and hitting the back of the bus or hitting the side mirror. Those are the type of vehicle incidences we've been seeing.
Understood. When you say driver error, is that driver of the our vehicles or those drivers of other vehicles, or is it both?
It's a little bit of both.
So can you tell me how many are driver error of our vehicles?
I don't have that breakdown, but I can certainly, we can provide that at the next report.
Okay. I would like to just put on the record that we probably need to make sure we're paying attention to all of these, but more specifically, vehicle related collision and driver error, I will highlight, and then everything within the safety related. Can you explain more about what safety related incidences would include?
Safety or more, like we had a situation in Pinellas County where the passenger actually slid out of their wheelchair while they were in the vehicle. They chose to not have what they call a posy belt on them while they were in their wheelchair. They slid out of the wheelchair. They had to call 911 because the passenger it was very heavy to pick them up, put them back into the chair by the driver. There were no injuries. The driver informed the family or the caregiver of what had happened. And that happens, unfortunately. I've heard that happening in several different areas. Volusia County, they did have a situation where the lift did not go all the way down to the ground. It was a little bit up high. And the passenger themselves tried to wheel themselves off the lift, and the wheelchair toppled over and the individual fell. They did call 911, but the individual was not injured in that report. But those would be the type of things, the safety issues that happen to the passenger while they're on the vehicle.
So are they not required to utilize all of the seatbelts and safety devices in order to ride in the vehicles?
They are required to have their wheelchair secured in the vehicle, but they cannot mandate a passenger have their wheelchair seatbelt. It's called a posy belt. It's like their seatbelt within their wheelchair.
Okay.
But the wheelchair itself was secured.
Understood. I just think that we need to be mindful, very mindful of safety. If we're going to collect these, right, this is now what we're doing, we need to be mindful because we're responsible for this at this point. So we need to understand what these are, probably really dig into a little more specifically about what exactly happened, and then make sure that if there that the different parties that need to be taking accountability are taking accountability and being held responsible.
Yes, ma'am.
I would also even further that, Chair, and say that they're taking steps, and we've ensured that they're taking steps to remediate those issues that caused an incident.
And I believe to Commissioner Farron's point on this one, Director Somerset, they are required after this one too, where there's an adverse incident report, to also have what their corrective action is going to come
That's
behind
right.
it.
Yes, they do report that in their reports, what their
Excellent.
corrective action was, what action they took, whether it was to retrain the driver, to go back and review the videos, to take disciplinary action to the driver. It was the driver's fault.
I think then if that's already included in these submissions, can we just make sure that that's included in the reports when they're reported to us as the commission?
Yes, we can do that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Excellent conversation around these.
Director Somerset, I would like to, have a plan of action. I know we've taken great strides forward in starting to collect some of this stuff, but now that we are starting to get it, I think we need to have a plan of action in place of what we're going to do with it and how we're going to respond, because this is people's safety. This is really important.
Absolutely.
And it's good that we have this, but if you have it and then you don't do anything with it, then I feel like you're not helping. And that's our role in this.
Yes, ma'am.
So if we could put that as an agenda item moving forward as to what the plan is with these reports and how we're going to use them to address issues that we find. That's, I think, what we need to do. Or I know that's what we need to do.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I do think, as coming into these as well, knowing that this is the second reporting period, I believe that they come into that is where we can start seeing some trend lines as well too. So we had the base that came into it. Now this is the second reporting period. Moving from there, we should be able to see how that's working out, how many are continuing to happen at one area versus another area, and if those corrective actions that were taken and set in place within it are working. Is that safety measure coming into it once it is identified as to what's coming into that? So I do agree wholeheartedly with what the staff is tasked with afterwards as well too, of digging deeper into these reports as we're starting to get more of these reports and having that ability to see if there are any trends either within a one region or across as well too, to see if there's something more that we as a body could help alleviate and bring more safety and awareness to.
We might be able to evaluate a little bit further as to what areas that aren't having these issues we're doing versus the areas that aren't, to maybe create some technical assistance.
Great point, Commissioner Carter, on that one too, of where are the best practices? Where are the ones that are coming into it and how can those best practices be applied across the counties as well too? Thank you for that.
I would also like to, that this is also not intended to just be punitive, right? Like accidents happen and we fully recognize that too. But if there are ways too that this board can allow more fund to do other things. I mean, we have the ability to do some of that stuff to help these entities correct some of these things. If it's an additional seatbelt type or an additional, I'd say to some of the lifts, like an additional piece that you can add to make them extend further so that we don't have some of this. I think that's the type of stuff that this is not to be punitive to our providers, but this is to also identify areas where we can intervene and really help them for the safety of our riders. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you all for the robust conversation around this one too. I think it all helps move in the right direction and task this body with what it was tasked with to begin with for these incidents reporting coming to our body and what we can do to make it safer for the traveling public. Commissioners, are there any other questions regarding this report of adverse incidents? Seeing no further discussion on that one, thank you again for everybody for the discussion that came into this one, how we can make this body a better reporting mechanism as it comes to it too, and how we can continue to help our riders across the state. Karen, next item is going to be the executive director update.
Very good. Okay. I'm sorry.
The floor is yours.
All right. I just have a few updates. Our legislative budget request has been submitted. It's for $4 million. I believe that's to continue the ISD program. The session will be starting in January. The committees are already meeting, I see, and we'll continue to monitor that with any legislation that may affect the program or our partners in the program. All of our community transportation coordinators have submitted their annual operating reports. Those were due by September the 15th. So staff is beginning to review those, confirm the data with the CTCs, and put together the annual report that we'll be providing to the commission in December for you all's review. I hope to have that to you by the end of November, but sometimes it's challenging with the holidays and all, and they're trying to get everything confirmed and input to a report. And let's see, we finished our quality assurance reviews. All 67 counties were reviewed. I think I had mentioned during the last report that this was more of a grant compliance review to make sure that all of the CTCs were in compliance with our trip equipment grants. We had a few that had findings on their applications, TD eligibility. We had a few findings on the invoices where there may have been some duplicate trips that had been invoiced or incorrectly invoiced. But through this review, it's helped us, be more accountable for that, for the grant funding, and helped provide feedback to the CTCs to be compliant with the grants. And the last thing I have to report is that we are beginning to review the data elements of the funding formula over the past 5 years and determining their influence on the allocations. kind of as in response to the public comments we received of the last two commission meetings. And just to give us give us an idea of where things are. And I don't know if there's areas that we can suggest to improve in the future. And Chair, I think that's all I have to report today.
Thank you, Director Somerset, for those. Next, we'll move into the commissioner updates and open the floor to commissioners for any updates, announcements, or items of this interest they wish to share. For those online, please indicate by raising your hand and we can recognize you. Seeing no updates from those, we do still welcome our newest commissioner to the body. Thank you for coming and joining us for this one. Next, we'll move into the public comment section for any topic relevant to the commission's work. Please state your name, the organization you represent, and if possible, limit your comments to 2 minutes. I believe we have one comment card for this section. Is that correct? Yes. Lisa McCoe with FBTA.
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa McCoe. I'm the Executive Director of the Florida Public Transportation Association. My past chair, Karen Deagle, was out of town this week and could not speak. She asked me to speak for her. She has been meeting with CTD staff to talk about the Transportation Disadvantage Trust Fund allocations. And we hope to schedule another meeting soon, but just wanted to give you an update that we have been meeting with the staff and they've been very helpful and we appreciate all their information. Also, the FPTA legislative platform for next year, we have placed on there to ask for a permanent increase to the Transportation Disadvantage Trust Fund. It will probably be an uphill climb, but we did put it on there and just wanted you to know that we'll be supporting more dollars to be put into the trust fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCoe. Are there any other comments in the chat? No comments seen there coming into it. All right, that closes out our public comment section at the end. Commissioners, please remember that our next meeting is scheduled to be held December 12th, 2025 at 1 p.m. But based upon today's actions too, I would make sure that you're on the lookout for a potential meeting in the interim as well to come back to that agenda item that we are continuing to work on. If there's no further business, is there a motion to adjourn today's meeting? Commissioner Carter, I'll motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Commissioner Barrios, I'll second.
Excellent. Thank you, commissioners. For that, I thank you all for your time and insight and service. This meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.